Let's do an A-level chemistry DNA intro. We know, of course, DNA is a naturally occurring polymer. And that means it's made up of a number of monomers. And the monomer that makes up DNA, these are called nucleotides. So let's focus right now on making sure that we can draw a nucleotide. Now, all of the different components are included in your data booklet. It's just a case of how do they come together and how are you going to draw it. So first, and like the central part really of our nucleotide is our pentose sugar, specifically called 2-deoxyribose. Now, attached to this 2-deoxyribose, this sugar, we are going to have a phosphate group and our base. So where those join, we just look for our OHs. Okay, so our OHs, that's where things get added on. So the easiest one to spot is the one that's closer to the inside, so next to the oxygen, but not the CH2OH, just the OH. This is where your base gets attached. So I'm just going to get rid of this OH, and that's where we're going to attach our base. We'll talk more about our bases in a moment. Now, in order for our polymer to form, we have what's called a sugar phosphate backbone. So we'll have phosphate groups essentially attached to this oxygen here and this oxygen here, because then they'll be linked to the next nucleotide along. Now, for just one nucleotide, we only need to show one of those phosphate groups. So I'm going to choose the one on the top. So I'm going to get rid of this H here, and this oxygen rather is bonded to a phosphorus, which will have a doubly bonded oxygen and then two singly bonded oxygens with negative charges. This is our nucleotide, okay, which is the monomer. Again, when these join together, we form what's called, as I mentioned before, a sugar phosphate backbone, which means that this phosphate group here, one of these oxygens, is actually going to be bonded to another nucleotide up there. And then this OH group here, this is going to be attached to another phosphate group down here. Okay, so it just goes on and on and on and on and on. Let's talk about our bases, because there are 4 bases for DNA. Again, the structures for all 4 of these will be given to you in your data booklet, so you don't need to know them off by heart. But what you do need to know is there are 4 bases. Those are A, T, G, and C. And I've written them like this in particular because they form what we call complementary base pairs, which means that in order for the 2 strands of DNA to actually link together, it's our base pairs that form hydrogen bonds between them. Easiest way to remember it, or for me, I remember it as the pointy ones go together and the curly ones go together, right? Now, between our A and our T base, there are 2 hydrogen bonds that are able to form. And between our G and our C base, there are 3 hydrogen bonds that are able to form. Now, in terms of how we draw those, I think, again, that deserves a video unto itself for how we can manipulate and turn those around to draw these hydrogen bonds. But a very common exam question that you'll see is they'll give you a short section of DNA, or for one strand of DNA. So they'll say, okay, you've got a short section of DNA, and on one of those strands, the base sequence is A, C, C, T, G, A. And then they'll ask, number 1, what would the corresponding bases be on the second strand? Well, let's do that first. On the second strand, they would have to be whatever the base pair is. So for A, we would have T, and then G for C, G, A, C, T. And then the follow-up question would typically then be, what's the total number of hydrogen bonds between this, within this small section of DNA? And then that's where we have to remember there are 2 hydrogen bonds between A and T and 3 hydrogen bonds between G and C. So then we just count along. We go 2 plus 3 plus 3 plus 2 plus 3 plus 2, which is, oh my goodness, oh no, 5, 8, 10, 13, 15. 15 hydrogen bonds in total. Let me just check my counting because that would be so embarrassing if I can't do this simple maths. 5, 8, 10, 13, 15. Yes, indeed. For more A-level chemistry explanations and support, make sure that you have subscribed. Make sure that you've also liked this video and commented with any questions that you may have or anything that you want to see in the future.